Yeah.
We're good. I'm glad you're feeling better.
I'm surprised you're here, May. I thought you were on bed.
She was on bed rest.
I was, but, I mean, I was just, I couldn't. But over the weekend, I started feeling better, so,
Well, that's good.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but
Baby moved.
that's what my mom thinks. She said she thinks that it dropped, but I can't tell. But they said I could have had a stone that wasn't on, like, that they couldn't catch on X-ray because I can't get a CT scan. So maybe the stone passed. I still like lingering, but it's not like
Couldn't be back right now.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's what I thought it was at first.
We have a nurse tonight to say something.
I pulled a lot of cows out, but I don't particularly want to do that.
I would prefer to do it
Little different.
We used to do quite a few cows. I prefer not to do that.
Yeah.
I didn't know where anybody out there lived. So by that way, I know.
2 weeks.
And it can get close enough now.
And I was really confused for induction. They like would not budge. They wanted me to get in the frostomy too. Surgery done before they would do.
I don't know, I heard you don't want to do this, but I don't know. They say it's worse.
I heard that too, but it's like, at this point, I feel like I'm in labor.
You just want to be done.
Yeah.
I never had kids. They say it's
I haven't
painful
either.
as.
That's what they kept asking them, like, well, you have a history of kidney stones. I'm like, no, I've never been in the hospital. But now they have all kinds of tests and pretty much just like moderate swelling, but the swelling doesn't really extend to So this Saturday.
Well, listen, maybe this is preparing you later for your back.
I know. Well, that's where I took that. I was like, I can't have this game, you can't leave this game, because I can't play it, or I couldn't play it like that. My right side. And I was like, I was this game, but like, stay out of my misery.
Stay out of the room, Matt.
Well, I had that gallstone out, gallbladder out last week, and it was worse than that. This is worse.
I know, I mean, they just like kept up at night, but she kind of said, I really don't want to treatment right now.
Wrong way, wrong way.
Because, I mean, I know that like, I should have an anti-inflammatory, but I can't. So, it was like,
Ready to go? Is that everybody? All right, folks, we're going to start the meeting tonight. Thank you all for coming. And if you hear stomachs growling, be kind, because Diana and I have been here since 4, so you may hear our stomachs rumbling throughout the meeting tonight. So we're going to get started with our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tammy, could you do the roll call of members, please?
Carrie Armagost. Here. Megan Dreher. Here. Brady Fight.
Here.
Diane Page. Here. Jeff Powell.
Here.
Corey Sherman. Here. Jermaine Stump. Here. Eric Sunland.
Here.
And Kelly Terwilliger.
Here. Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming tonight, for those that have called in. Do I have a motion to consider to waive the reading and approve the official minutes from the workshop session held on the 11th?
second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Can we keep both? I did too.
Brady.
Brady?
Yes, sorry.
Diane.
Aye, okay. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, public participation this evening. We have several of our teachers here to talk to us. Ann, Carrie, and Anita.
Hi, my name is Ann Butler. I teach fifth grade. We just wanted to make ourselves available for the board members who did not come to our other meeting, that if you have any questions for us, we are here to answer them for you. Okay? I think that part of the presentation will be later in the board meeting.
She was actually dealing with the middle school thing that's later on in the agenda, but this was actually the only time that we could be placed on the agenda. And we just thought, if you had any questions or concerns based on what we talked about last week, or if you weren't there last week, we're here to answer or do our best.
Okay, does anybody have any questions now? We may come up when we have the discussion, if that's okay with you folks.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming tonight to help discuss it. And the presentation that's listed here was at the workshop meeting. Any board concerns, I just want to remind you that baccalaureate's being held tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at the West Freedom United Methodist Church. And you are all invited. It's a nice time to have with the students and help send off our seniors. So you're more than welcome to attend. Any other board concerns?
Yeah, Kelly, I have one real quick. I was able to go to the PSBA Advocacy Days in Harrisburg, and I was able to meet with State Representative Donna Overlander, RV State Senator Scott Hutchinson, and State Representative Bridget Kalinowski from the Scranton area. And we had some pretty good meetings in
So do you have anything did you see any headway on anything, Brady, while you were there?
information I think about.
Thanks, Brady. Thanks for going and representing us. And I would have to say about the last politician we discussed, he hasn't changed his mind for how many years? So he's kind of in the same stance. So any other board concerns? Okay, not seeing any, we'll go to the consent agenda. Is there anything you would like pulled from the consent agenda? We don't have a lot on there tonight. Not seeing any. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Meg, would you do finance and purchase this evening?
Yeah, I'm gonna lump A through H together, make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
I got to a cafeteria report, Mrs. Reddy.
Good evening. I just have a few quick things. The first, as I'm sure Dr. Divot talked to you about, was the grant that we were awarded. I was in Harrisburg for a conference at the last board meeting, and I was truly hoping for some answers from USDA and the state as to what we were looking at to start the next school year. We had another webinar this morning, and USDA is still not handing down any final approval, disapproval, whether they're going to put waivers through or not. So we're still going forward as we're gonna start the new year with the new system that's our old system. So I think we're going back to the paid lunches. It does look like we may get some waivers on supply chain and the meal planning requirements because we're starting to run into the same supply issues now that we were having at the beginning of the year. So we were getting better and now we're really starting to decline to the point last week where I couldn't even get a gallon of milk from our supplier. So yeah, we're really going backwards in that direction. The grant, the 3-door refrigerator warmer has been ordered by the purchase order put through by Jody. I haven't heard anything from them yet, but I am so super excited. And now that I know this grant is out there and I can get one for each building, we'll be putting in a grant every year till they tell us that we can't do that anymore. Try and save us some money. We did get the supply chain allocation finally from the state in the amount of just a little over $16,000 that we can use on any food that is barely processed or whole, fruit, vegetable, a whole egg, that type of thing, due to increased cost for shipping or where we have to buy it for that. Now, I had kept a spreadsheet for the year and was ready to spend this, but they came out and told us that we were not allowed to spend any of it until it was deposited into the accounts at school, which I believe it was just done this last week. So all of this year is completely out. So we can't use it through the end of 2023, and the way things look right now, I don't think it's gonna be a problem to get rid of that. I'm hoping we'll have our last and final wellness committee meeting on the 19th at 9 o'clock in the morning, and that will be, the main topic will be our back to the old school lunch program. I want to talk to the kids to see what it will take for them to stay involved, especially in breakfast, now that it's going to back to pay. And what we can provide to them maybe is all of her items that still meet that healthy requirement. So I'm going to get some input from the students there, and then just go down some of the changes that are being implemented from President Biden coming into office. But other than that, I'm happy to say that we're closing out this school year, and I'm really hoping we start off in a little better place than we're, looks like we're gonna end.
Thank you. Letter J, consideration to approve the 2022-2023 Pennsylvania Association of Rural and Small Schools, PARSS, membership in the amount of $890 as attached. So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Abstentions? Motion carries.
K, consideration to approve the all-access membership package with PSBA in the amount of $6,845.78, membership dues for the 2022-2023 school year as attached. So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
L, consideration to approve entering into a 3-year agreement with Zito Business to house their equipment for connectivity to the Riverstone Estates as attached. So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Discussion.
Yeah, so I do have a couple of points I'd like to bring to the board's attention and the public's attention here. The Zito company was formerly the Adelphia company out of Potter County, Pennsylvania. It was founded in the late 1900s, it was founded in 1990, and in 2002, the gentleman who founded it, John Rodriguez, was found guilty on money laundering charges for $2.3 billion to the Zito, to the Adelphia company. And now it is the Zito company, and it's still in the Rodriguez family name. So that's a red flag for me, first off. They're indicted on $2.3 billion in money laundering. I really don't think that's something we need to be in an agreement with. And the other issue I have is that nobody knows what's going on back there in that property. We're a very small community. We know what happens in the area, and nobody's heard anything about this. And there's a lot of bad things that could happen back there. There's also some good things that could happen. But personally, if they're not willing to come forward with information about what they're going to be using the internet for, what the property is going to be used for, I don't think we need to house any of it or get into a contract with any of this. I just see a lot of red flags, a lot of gray areas that, might not be good for us. Even if the contract that is drafted up is solid, in the public eye, since we are taxpayer funded, that just is the recipe for disaster, in my opinion.
Okay, any other discussion?
What's the benefit for us from this again?
They're going to pay us $250 a month to house the equipment up there, which would offset a majority of our remaining cost for internet access.
And who owns the building, is it responsible for the keep or whatever it is?
No, they're responsible.
They maintain it. We do have it written on, if they have an issue after school hours, and they would pay our custodians or maintenance workers to come in to open up the building, and somebody would be with their technicians.
So the agreement, I assume the attorney was looking over.
He's looked it over. He made a few suggestions. They've all been incorporated. It's a 3-year agreement, and off the top of my head, I believe we can separate if we had a 180-day notice.
And if there was any illegal activity that occurred through the internet, what's the recourse?
Well,
Through
it
our-
wouldn't be through our,
Yeah, through a SIPA filter would eliminate anything coming through, but it wouldn't be in our unit, so to speak. They're running the cables out and back in from the district, so it would be a separate internet altogether.
and we still will be with Zito, whether we sign this or not. I mean, Zito is the provider for the wide area network the state established through the IUs probably 6 years ago. I don't know, it's been quite a while, so Zito will still be
Right,
our
I mean,
provider.
at least through that, we have the IU as sort of cushion, sort of a little bit of a buffer zone. Since we had to go through them to get the internet, and went through them to get the internet. I don't know, just my feelings going directly through them, I just don't think it's a wise decision.
And this is, they need a house on our property for what reason?
They just needed a location to put their switches and equipment to run back to Riverstone.
And there's not, I'm just asking questions because I wasn't sure.
Yeah, yeah,
And there isn't anywhere on their property to do this.
my understanding is no. I mean, I guess because of the connectivity, and I think because of the distance, there has to be a location where there's already a demarcation point coming in, which is where, what's the connections are from Zito and Armstrong. And then they can connect to that and carry another line that direction, which won't have anything to do with our connection. There's no overlap between what's happening there and what's happening here.
And there will be no construction on campus as far as digging new lines or anything like that. They'll use the existing cable.
I mean, I do agree with Brady that I'm not happy that we're not being told what's going on back there because, and I've used this before, I mean, if we put a casino back there, I don't want that kind of traffic and possible things that could happen, with the kids right here. I don't know.
But I don't think it's Zito's place to disclose that. They're probably.
No, they're probably had to
They
sign
probably
it.
have non-disclosure.
Exactly, which is what they made everybody sign back there.
It's not Zito's place to tell us what they're doing. That would be the owners.
Or even the operator, they don't.
Yeah, they don't have to tell us.
No,
That gentleman that spoke from Zito a couple meetings ago did say golf resort across the road, and he was not talking about that. I don't know if that's what it is, but I picked up on that.
We've heard golf resort hotel, that's what we've heard.
I don't know.
Or not, who knows? I've also heard from the American source that they bought all the stepping assets in Foxman. That
oh, down here.
were really, so they have a bunch of different business industries.
Do we know who bought this? Do we know who actually bought this back here? Two doctors bought it.
Yeah, so they have a bunch of business and interests in the area now, so.
But the only thing that I mean, if it's gonna bring 100 or 200 jobs, I hate to be a detriment to that happening in this area, because obviously we need jobs. But I can see where Brady's coming from as well, at this point, so. Any other discussion? Okay, so we need to vote. All those in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
Letter M, consideration to approve substitute teacher pay for the 2022-2023 school year as follows.
Okay,
You
so
left that blank.
this is discussion.
Oh, okay.
We just thought that we maybe should readdress this because we're so short on subs. And I know our budget is tight, but with the increase that some people can get, working at McDonald's or I mean, those, they have raised there because they can't get help either. So we want subs in here, and they want to come in here and work a day. With subbing, it can be difficult, and they're not making as much as they could to go get a part-time job somewhere else.
We know what the rates are surrounding districts.
I checked, there's a number of schools discussing it right here. One school district did go up by $5, so they're at $115, $125, and $135. Everybody else, there's still discussions about this time, so.
And what are we at now?
$110, $120, $130.
That's what
So
we are.
initially, an initial sub would get 110 for they work 19 days.
Do you think raising the pay is going to bring in more applicants? Because what I'm seeing on the job front, the applicant flow across the board is just not coming through, and it's really,
Well, I think what we're thinking is like, we can get guest teachers through the IU, or if you have a bachelor's degree in anything, you can become a substitute teacher. I was just thinking of someone who might be looking to do something part-time. Are they gonna make more money if they go work at?
If we increase it by $5, we may not lose teachers to go to the neighboring school district for $5.
are we seeing that a lot? I mean,
I don't
We're
know.
aligned with the other districts now, right?
Yeah, we're all really
pretty much
close.
on the same.
Yeah.
So everybody else is talking about raising it too.
Yeah, they're having discussions.
So it's up, I mean, I just thought it would be a good idea to put on the agenda for next year to see what we think.
do we have to vote on this tonight before we really
We do not,
kind of hold out and see what the other districts do? And
we can do that.
We can table the motion.
Do we have anybody currently, any substitutes currently that would fall in like the day 20 to 59 or the day 60 to 100 or plus? Have we had anybody in those groups? So we do have some long-term subs that do, okay.
Yeah, we don't have many subs, and the ones that we do, we definitely utilize.
I don't have a problem with raising it, it's a crazy world out there right now. And trying to keep people, if we do have people that are long-term and dedicated.
Yeah, and I agree with Carrie, their teachers aren't out there to sub, and I think we're gonna have to look at, like I said, more towards a guest teacher or people that might be interested in that. Because there's not that many getting a degree.
are we marketing that so that like the public is aware that they can come in and be a substitute teacher?
I don't know, I know when I was down at Red Bank not too long ago, they have signs up all over the place, you can be a sub, if you have a bachelor's degree, you can sub, here's how to contact us, so. And I know I've seen it in paper some, different schools have posted it in the paper, I don't
We have it
know.
posted on our website, and I did send out a school messenger call one time and just alluded to the fact, but I could update my messenger and get that sent out.
I was thinking about, community-wide, our website may not reach people, not only community-wide, but school reach calls, that's only gonna reach a limited population. Maybe we need to look at, even if you put a free ad on, Indeed or something like that, David, just as a suggestion, to at least get the word out to the surrounding area that,
And it wouldn't hurt to maybe put it in Progress this summer or Clarion News, say, hey, we're looking for, yeah,
Yeah, do it on the marquee, banner out here.
Yeah.
And have we put it on the Facebook page at all?
I don't know.
I don't think it's on our
They're not, is it gonna be set on the Facebook page? I don't know if they were not.
I think, do we offer a course here, or do they have to go to the IU if they
They have
want?
to go to the IU. They will branch out and operate it in different schools if necessary.
I don't know.
So perhaps we could offer something here if we have local people interested. We can do a sign up, hey, if you would be willing to help with this, if you're interested for next year, we can do a training here, or we can set it. That might be a suggestion. I mean, obviously we want certified teachers in there, but obviously we can't get enough
Yeah.
to sub, and people need time off, so.
Have we looked
Is
into?
it my understanding too that people with 60 credits also can not necessarily be dubbed, but can watch or at least be in a classroom?
Yeah, that's correct, Jeff. I believe they refer to them as monitors right now, and we do have a couple college graduates who are helping out that fall into that category.
I think it would be important maybe to get that out there as well.
So do you want to table this till we get more info and consider maybe even just changing this to say we want to advertise for this summer for substitute?
I mean, my opinion is we need to probably up our price. I mean, that's just the way things are going. I don't see any way around that.
Eric?
It is something useful.
I agree with you there, Jeff. I think that the daily rate needs to be up a little bit there.
Thanks, Brett.
We use ESS, it's a sub-service, and the benefit of that is retired teachers can come in without it affecting their retirement because they're employed through ESS rather than the district.
But they've changed that though.
Oh, they have?
The state said you can, they're not counting that anymore. Because I just did some, yeah, they're saying, yeah, if you're retired and you want to sub, the state will not count that, won't take that against your PZers.
We have 2 retirees right now working on that.
Okay, so,
My opinion is that anything we can do to increase our supplement would be helpful.
do we have an amount we want to throw out there for this motion?
Do we know how big of an impact certain amounts would be to the budget next year, like based on the average number of days we pay subs? Or like, do we have, is there a way to determine how that's gonna impact us?
Because this year's been a little different because we haven't had subs as much as. I can calculate some numbers for you. If you guys just want to give me an idea of what you're looking at.
Refresh my memory. If we have teachers covered, do we pay them?
That's part of their assignment.
Okay. They don't get paid so much for each period that's over them. Okay.
Maybe like 3 to 4 year average, since COVID just been. Your average it based on the number of days they're allotted every year.
Well, some people have medical reasons that they're out that's kind of unexpected. We can have a general idea that each staff member uses so many days per year. Well, sometimes, they pop up.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay, so what's the consensus here? Do we want to table this to get more info for next month? Do you want to?
I think so. By that time, maybe we'll know what the other districts are doing, so we can try to stay.
And Andrew can share some numbers with us as well.
Okay. So Meg, do you
I
want to?
personally feel we need to have it in our budget somewhere, whatever our adjustment's gonna be.
Okay.
So for M, I'm gonna make a motion to table, the approval of the substitute teacher pay for the 2022-2023 school year until the June school board meeting. Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. We've had discussion. Is there anything else? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
And consideration to approve joining the Riverview Intermediate Unit Number 6 Guest Teacher Consortium at a cost of $600 through July 30th, 2023. The Guest Teacher Consortium Board Resolution dated May 3rd, 2022 is attached to it. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? David, how many people will we get through that?
We get quite a few. We have a couple subs up at the high school that do a lot of work up there through the guest teachers.
And so would this be paying for them to come down and do a, like if we needed?
I don't know if they charge any extra to come down here to provide the coursework or if it's just a flat $600, but they do all the training and set up the information, background checks and stuff.
Good.
It's a good deal.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Discussion related to the 2022-2023 preliminary budget.
Please disregard the preliminary budget that was emailed to you last week. Some numbers have changed, so I've given everybody a copy of the updated version and kind of a little sheet to go over changes. So when we met in April, we were looking at a total revenue of $15,783,709 with expenditures of $16,285,856. Looking at a deficit of $502,147. With the current numbers run, we're looking at a revenue of $15,592,950. Expenditures $16,399,074 with a total deficit of $806,124. The reason for the decrease in the revenue was due to an assessment value that came in from a county that was lower than it previously had been. I'm still waiting on updates from the counties, so the tax numbers will still be fluctuating until June. The increase in expenditures was an increase in the dental than what was originally in that last budget that you were shown. There were also 2 salaries and benefits that were not in that preliminary budget. We had a couple students that have moved from cyber regular education to special education. And the preliminary budget also had included the E-rate discount, and we actually did not get any bids on the E-rate. There's still a lot of things that are going to affect the budget moving forward. The assessments that are coming in from the taxes. Also waiting on, I know administration's been making a lot of calls to try to get cyber students back to our district. That could have a major impact on the budget if we're able to bring those kids back to our cyber program. And then, of course, the salaries, some contracts are still out. I had budgeted a number. If, that could change and fluctuate a little as well. And then, of course, the state budgets, they're projected, so we never know those until later. But I am going by what PDE has on their websites right now that's in this budget. And then I have attached the revenue and expenditure total budget here for everybody.
Any questions? Not what we wanted to see, but.
Sorry.
Can I ask, just keeping myself straight, the 2 salaries that weren't in the original budget, what 2 positions were those?
One of the life skills teachers and salaries, the new position, and the social worker.
Any other discussion?
How many students are able to decide to make sure that salary is better?
We've had changes pretty much every month that we're being updated on. And that's a significant change
That's
in
what I'm asking.
price, yeah.
And we have nothing to do with that determining the student IEP.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when they leave as a general ed student, they end up being a specialist.
Says a lot about the cyber program they're going to. Okay. Any other discussion? All right, moving on. Carrie, would you do personnel?
Sure. Let me lump together A, B, C, and E for employees 133, 370, 328, and 287 to use those days as unpaid leave. So
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
I guess I could have put D in there too, I read it wrong. So, consideration to approve the retroactive request from employee 389 to use April 20th, May 3rd, May 12th, May 13th, and May 17th as unpaid leave days. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Item F, consideration to approve the corrected formal letter of retirement at the end of the 2021-2022 school year for Maureen Percy as attached. So moved.
Can I hear a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We thank Lori for all of her years of service here at AC Valley.
Item D, consideration to approve the corrected formal letter of retirement at the end of the 2021-2022 school year for Jackie Caldwell as attached. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Again, we need to thank Jackie for all of her dedication to the district.
Item H, consideration to approve abolishing the 7th and 8th grade science teacher position due to declining enrollment at the junior senior high school, and to promote a middle school model in the grade 5 and grade 6 community area as attached. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
We're going to remove the second part of that.
Well, that's what our discussion needs to be. We have to decide on this motion before we can make another. So discussion.
We almost need to separate this motion.
Pardon?
I said we almost need to separate this motion.
Well, we have to vote what's on here first. We can vote this down and add it up. I mean, it has to be, but we have to discuss and work on the motion that we have at the moment. And then we can,
Corey, I think we need to make this into two separate items to vote on.
okay? So then what you'll have to do is vote this down, because this motion's already out there. And then we can add two separate motions. Am I correct, David?
Yeah. And then we,
Okay, so do we want to have some discussion first? Okay, so we want to vote on this, and then we'll move on. So all those in favor? Okay, all opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Or, sorry, motion does not carry. I'm not used to saying that.
Everyone is opposed.
To this, yeah, to the one that's on the page. Yeah, so now, do we have a new motion?
I'm going to make a motion that we consider abolishing the 7th and 8th grade science teacher position due to declining enrollment.
Okay,
Second.
moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Just for my own, 'cause I've been out of the loop with this, just because of work and travel. We have 5 science teachers at the high school, correct? So about removing this position would still leave us with 4 science positions at the high school. Is that correct? sir?
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the new motion? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, so now I think we need to look at the second part of the motion.
Well, it's actually already
Yeah.
under district report as the middle school model, so that's the second half of that original motion.
Okay, it is
So
on
we
there
can always,
twice.
yeah, we can just ignore the,
Okay, so we'll bring that up then underneath the
District report.
district report, and then we can decide. Okay. So that moves us on to letter I.
Item I, consideration to approve transferring Sean Miller from the junior senior high school to the elementary school into the newly created fifth grade teaching position that will have a primary focus on middle level science in grade 5 and 6, starting with the 2022-2023 school year. So moved.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
If you want to keep that worded as.
That's what I was just gonna say, almost needs.
I think it can be, because all we're really saying is that he's moving into fifth grade, and
This
But
has
it
listed
says,
fifth and
it's going to
sixth.
focus on science.
he is gonna focus.
But I mean,
Middle level.
is that all?
It almost needs to be a new motion that we're just moving it to the elementary. Correct.
We can do it that way, and then discuss the other part with you. It would still be though fifth grade teaching position.
Yeah, this has listed fifth and sixth, so we're gonna go with that model then. That's what changes.
Is he only teaching science? He's not teaching anything else? If we bring him down here?
Or does that depend on the
That
model?
depends on the
that-
schedule.
That depends on the schedule of the model.
Right, it would depend on the schedule. So you could end that motion with just the newly created fifth grade teaching position. And the rest will be discussed when we do the discussion on the model.
Do you have to write this down and change it?
Yes. Yes, because we've already made the motion and seconded. Yes.
Okay. We said, "You got this."
Okay, so we're going to vote on this particular motion. If you agree with it the way it is, if not, we need to vote it down if we want to make a second or a change to it. Is that understood?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Okay, opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, abstentions? Okay, motion does not carry, it's been voted down. Now carries, since I'm using that one.
Before I do this, just since we're discussing it, can we talk about a couple of things? Because I'm, for my own, just to catch me up. Sean volunteered to come down for this, correct? Okay. So this isn't us forcing him down because we have some science teachers. This was a voluntary on his part.
After discussion with him, yes.
All right, well then the amended is consideration to approve transferring Sean Miller to the junior, senior high school to the elementary school into the newly created fifth grade teaching position. So,
Okay, moved in second. Do we have any discussion with that part? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. It's a new motion. Now it'll get easier, I think.
Okay. Item J, consideration to approve transferring Courtney Rice into the permanent K through sixth grade school counselor position at the start of the 2022-2023 school year. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, not hearing any. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Letter K, consideration to approve advertising to fill the temporary grant-funded vacated school counselor position. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
So just one more year left on that.
Yes.
And that is through ESSER funds,
Yeah,
correct?
that's great. Our best.
So that would be basically a one-year position. Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
I am going to lump together L, M, N, O, P, and Q. Consideration to approve Courtney
Fletcher, Jack Hale, Don Rass, and Chastity Myers to be volunteers within the district. So moved.
Second, any discussion? I think these are all people who are assisting with field trips, et cetera. We appreciate them offering their time to do that. Okay, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Letter R, consideration to approve the accounts payable job description as attached. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
And that's just a very similar job description that we had originally created as I was working with Jody. We just changed from the superintendent secretary to the account payable and made some slight adjustments to it.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Do you have a candidate?
Yes, we're recommending Ryan Wambach, Wambaughh, and a starting salary of $32,500.
Okay. Letter S, consideration to approve hiring Ryan Wambaugh for the accounts payable position upon receipt of all appropriate documents at a salary of $32,500. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Aye.
Pardon? Brady's abstaining.
Yes, that's correct. I need to stay for that one.
Okay. David, will he start right away?
He'll have to put in a 2-week notice. And
Okay.
then he had a previously planned vacation, but I've already worked with Jody, so we'll get a portion on May and most of June for him to shadow Jody.
Okay, that'll be good. Okay. Okay.
All right, letter T, consideration to retroactively accept the letter of resignation as athletic trainer from Kevin Cofton dated May 4th, 2022 as attached. Kevin's last day with the district was Friday, May 13th, 2022. So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
And finally, letter U, consideration to approve advertising for the vacated athletic trainer position.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I know David has some things he's looking at as far as working with the union and if we need full-time or we need part-time, and see how that will all play out. So,
Where were you at part-time? Where were you full-time?
Full-time.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Jameen, would you do instructional services for us?
Sure, the elementary report, Mrs. Sherman.
Well, tonight's report is mostly updates on the upcoming events. Although last Friday, we did have our spring band and choir concert up at the high school. If you did not get to attend, you can still view that on the playback of the live feed that is on the website and the Facebook page. I would encourage you to do so. It was a fantastic concert, and it was amazing to see how far the kids have progressed from December of their Christmas concert to the spring concert. They did a fabulous job. We have a very busy 2 weeks coming up. This Friday at 9:30 at the high school track, we have our annual elementary metric meet. Monday, the 23rd, we have our annual STEAM Day here within the elementary school. That's K-6, and it's run by our STEAM team. And they will have activities throughout the building, and the students will rotate to different centers related to different STEAM activities. On Wednesday, May 25th, we will hold the 6th grade recognition program here in the cafetorium at 1 o'clock. Thursday, the 26th, we have our PTO Fun Day. PTO provides an excellent day of fun for the kids, K-6, indoors and outdoors, hopefully, if the weather cooperates. Friday, May 27th is our last day for students, and the dismissal bell here at the elementary is 11:23 on that day. It says 3.5 hours early, and we always get questions, what time does that mean? So that's 11:23 down here. And kindergarten registration will be May 31st and June 1st. It will be the afternoon of the 31st and the morning of June 1st. You can sign up for time slots on the website or Facebook page. There is a link that Erin has created, and those slots have been filling up very fast. So we currently have 40 students that could schedule for that day. So we've had some increases in the last week. And I did put a paper at each of your desks with the transportation comparisons. And I don't know if we want to have this conversation now or wait until we get to the transportation section. That is the same paper that I gave you back in February or March, whichever month we talked about that. But the contractors have reached out to me wanting me to have a discussion about extracurricular rates and the band rates. I can do that now, or if you want to wait until transportation, it doesn't matter.
I'd say let's wait till transportation.
Okay.
If you're okay with that.
Yep, that's fine. So that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Consideration to approve the STEM special ed.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Okay, secondary report. Dr. Jordan.
I got back from the senior trip sometime around 2:00 a.m. Sunday morning. And I just want to say that it was a trip that was memorable, not just for the seniors, but for us as chaperones too. It went very, very smoothly. We went down to Colonial Williamsburg, along with a few other destinations in Virginia. And to quote one of the seniors, best day ever. So very, very exciting for a lot of those students that don't often have an opportunity to leave Pennsylvania and get to see things that they were able to enjoy over the senior trip. We had 33 students total. I would like to take a minute just to thank Mrs. Rothen, Mr. Rothen for his help with the first aid, health, and the medications. Mrs. Farrington as another chaperone, and the senior leadership for planning such a wonderful trip. I've been down there, I think, 4 or 5 times now, and this was a very nice trip. The students are absolutely thrilled and ready for graduation, and it's one of those love-hate type of things coming up for them. PSSAs are complete for the year, shipped back to the DRC, the state of Pennsylvania. We are halfway finished with Keystone testing, and we should complete that this week with a few makeups scheduled for next week. It seems like the students, the communication with the students is going a lot better. The students seem to be putting a little more effort into those things with the understanding that, you know, we take the information from those, what we get back from those tests, to be able to prepare them the next year. We keep communicating that often because otherwise the students have no skin in the game when it comes to these tests. But if they see that it actually does affect them the next year, they tend to take it a little bit more seriously. The teachers also have worked very, very hard on the testing to try to get the testing to go smoothly. To be honest, there's nobody here that loves going through those 2 weeks of PSSA testing. But it's just something we have to do, and it did go very well this year. At the high school, we're still working on student schedules. Last minute shuffling of personnel, things have complicated it considerably, a little more than what we thought it would. We want to be able to provide students with as many options as possible, but it does make it difficult, especially with the upper level AP courses and the honor courses. You know, until you do the scheduling, you don't realize how difficult it is, and you have to separate every single one of those upper level courses. Because if a student wants to take AP Euro, for example, and it falls on the same period as AP English, they have to make a choice. And we try to lessen that conflict as much as possible. But the teachers that are being shuffled are the teachers that teach those AP classes. We are still aiming to have the rough draft schedules completed for the move-up day, which is the last day of school for those students, so that they have an idea of what they will be doing next year. And come next month, I will share a copy of that schedule along with the number of requests for each of those courses when it becomes available. And that's all I have for the secondary report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Federal programs report.
We completed our ESSER PIMS reporting at the end of April without any issues. We recently had our federal programs monitoring on May 11th, and I'm happy to report that there were no significant findings. I want to say great job to Carrie Longo. She's here tonight. She did a great job and worked very hard and was very thorough. So we're happy that that's behind us. Do you have anything to add, Carrie, that you'd like to add? She's going to be working with some stakeholder meetings for input on Title II, Title IV, and ESSERs, as well as with the school-wide plan in the next couple of weeks. And summer school is being planned at the elementary school. And that is all I have to report.
Great, thank you. District report. We did it.
Jermaine, I'll start off with a few staffing updates and then finish off with some legislation from Harrisburg. As you know, in the ARC ESSER 3 grant, we do have written in a math coach for the high school. We can't seem to fill that position from the outside. We've advertised a couple different times, and word of mouth, and talked to local university schools. Dr. Jordan and a number of board members and myself came up with an idea about potentially splitting that math coach with an ELA coach, with the schedule, the way it's setting up. I don't think either of those options are going to work. Mrs. Roth was uncomfortable with it being a part-time teacher and a part-time coach. So we'll continue to review and try to fill that math coach position, but we may have to look elsewhere to utilize those funds. We do have 2 part-time ESSER custodians that will be ending at the end of this year. ESSER 2 will be going away, so they've done a great job helping to wipe down high traffic areas over the last couple of years. They'll bump back into their current positions here on campus. The athletic trainer, which Kelly had talked about earlier, I've reached out to the union about essentially sharing their trainer. I've contacted Champs up in Clarion, and we'll also advertise to fill that position. So I notified the athletic director and principal today as part of our plan. Special education director, we did advertise to fill that 3-day-a-week, 24-hour-a-week position. We did not receive any kind of applicants. I contacted IU6. They don't have anybody right now available. They're going to hire a couple special ed directors. But currently, we have Dr. Nhs Steele here on campus filling in for the Key Source Solutions group, and seems to be doing a good job as we finish up our special education audit and create a special education plan, which will be in front of you in June. As Andrea talked about, I did contact all 39 families who are in outside of cyber this past week. It seemed like about a third of them were very interested in partnering with the Titusville program. A third did not seem as if they were overly excited about leaving their current program. And a third of them, I had to leave messages with. So I've contacted Mike McGackey from Titusville. I've shared all the contact information. So he'll reach out by phone and then also send out the information through mail as well. So we're moving slowly in the right direction. Health and safety. We've gone over a month without any cases. This past week, we did have 2 COVID cases at the elementary, 2 at the high school. Some data that came from PASA shows that 3 out of every 4 children in the United States have had COVID in the past. And the students have developed antibodies associated with that. So it seems as if we're trending in the right direction. To build upon what Stacy said earlier, the school nutrition waivers, we met with AASA at the PARS conference, and they are working with Congress about extending those child nutrition waivers. Right now, the USDA were the ones who initially issued that, and there's no movement, although there's lots of discussion in Washington right now to extend that waiver for 1 more year. But they're telling us to plan as if it won't be here. The state budget, the good news on that is the state's collected $6.5 billion. That's $1.8 billion more than expected. So they're doing very well with their tax revenues as we move into budget season. That's good news. Both the House and Senate have been on break, but they'll be back in Harrisburg on May 23rd. May 23rd, when the group of superintendents from the Northwestern Summit's going out. We'll meet with David Volkman, number 3 in charge from PDE, on the 23rd, and then we'll spend the entire day on the 24th in the Capitol. We've got our schedule built. There's going to be 8 different legislators that my team will be meeting with. And then finally, just be careful with the new voucher program out there. School choice is part of the EITC OSTC voucher program. And there's a lot of money going into this school choice fund. That's part of the voucher program that targets the bottom 15% of the schools in the state. Now, none of the cyber schools are listed on this bottom 15, but if the voucher bill goes through as passed, then those students will be awarded scholarships. Depending on how much money is in this pot will dictate the amount of money that will travel with that student. Some people think it's a regular ABM, and some people say it'll be a version of it. So the specifics of that voucher bill is a little bit unclear, but there are a lot of local legislators in the area who, unfortunately, are in favor of that bill. So finishing off, if you contact your local legislators, vote no to the voucher. Jameen, that will finish me off.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, consideration to approve the Allegheny Cleary Valley District Title I Complaint Procedure Introduction as attached. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Okay, consideration to approve hosting a summer school remediation program at the elementary and junior high schools during the summer of 2022. So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? This is with Hesser, yeah.
Yes, correct.
We did something similar last summer.
Yes.
So, and it seemed to be very helpful. So. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Consideration to approve the Allegheny Cleary Valley School District Teacher Induction Program for 2022 to 2025 as attached. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
This is just part of the comprehensive plan. We have to update it every 6 years. We should review it every 3 years. Made minor revisions with formatting. The current plan we have has been in place since 2008 and works just fine. So just a newer version of the old model.
The only thing I see, David, is like the date. It says teacher induction report, October 5th, 2021. Is that right? Am I reading this right? And then it still has Jen Fight as a board member
I'll have to go back in.
on page 3 as being on the committee.
Yeah, that should change.
Other than that, that was the only thing I saw. Page, I think that was page 2 was the date, and page 3, a list of people who are on the team.
Thanks, I'll make the change.
Sure. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, consideration to approve a middle school model in grade 5 and grade 6. So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded, discussion. So what we were talking about with this, I guess, is that by bringing Sean down, he would become a science teacher for grades 5 and 6 and focus on science. Was my understanding correct, David? And so by having 5 teachers in those grades, between grades 5 and 6, instead of the 4 we originally thought, the schedule could be developed so that those students would do a rotation, basically. That makes sense? So that Sean would teach science for 5th and 6th. And I think Anita does math. Anita would do math 5 and 6. And that's kind of what the focus was. I'm just kind of explaining so you guys know who we're at the meeting. The issue from the meeting that became was they were concerned about the time that was going to be changing for the amount of time that was spent on math instruction and reading instruction, or ELA, based on what they currently have.
And there was discussion that could be worked in.
That can be worked in. I mean, we
To
discussed
some extent.
to some extent. There's no reason why you can't, Sean could not support math or ELA in science, in the science curriculum. I mean, and it should be incorporated because it works together. The discussion was, to develop, can we develop a schedule that would allow those rotations to happen without losing enough time for all the content areas? Did I summarize that correctly?
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the problem was trying to work the same instructional hours into that schedule, along with everything else that we're used to work in, all the specials, the new STEP programs, all those different things, is where a lot of the problem seems to be.
You set out a different schedule, right?
Well, yeah, you guys requested that, so Anita and Ann worked on that. The schedule that they had proposed kept Sean in 5th grade, and there would be the 3 rotations in 5th grade, and we would keep our 6th grade rotations as they are now between Carrie and Derek.
So the only concern, one of the concerns I had was that if we bring Sean down, Sean is not teaching science every day. Am I correct, Lori? He would have a half year science and a half year social studies.
You would have science and social studies and
Grammar.
the grammar part. They each do that in theirs. But nobody down here really teaches just one subject.
But I personally would like to see science every day. I just think it needs to be taught every day. If we're trying to improve our program, that's just my thoughts. And however we can do that. I don't know if, I know the only concern that Sean voiced in the meeting, you guys helped me out, Corey, was that he just was unsure about why there was the change now, when initially it was stated, well, if we could just keep 5 teachers, then we can make that work. And he was wondering why now it doesn't seem like it can work with 5 teachers.
And I think once the schedule got talked about, I think is when the problem arose, from my understanding. Once that schedule was looked at, it wasn't gonna work to be able to keep those instructional time with math, ELA, and add in that rotation with 5 teachers. It's easier to work that schedule when you get everything else worked in by trading within grade level. As well.
But is this gonna improve our scores? They've been low. I mean, it's not a change.
Well, and this is, so the model that they're doing now, trading within grades, has only been used this year. So to see those scores change, we haven't been doing the current plan long enough to see if it's going to adjust. And this year was the first year they've had longer time for math and ELA. So in theory, if they can continue to do that, those scores should come up.
Scores back more, like,
Where
Where
the
are
scores
the
so
scores
far.
Middle of the summer.
Yeah, middle of the summer.
But you're also dealing with this year, the recovery from the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think before we could tell if there was any improvement by doing the current model that we're doing, we'd have to give it a few years to see if it's working. We did incorporate that in 4th grade as well. So 4, 5, and 6 started changing classes this year.
And to keep that same instructional time by trading within the grade works to keep that, and it works better with the schedule around the building.
Our low scores are in ELA and math. I mean, our science could be improved, but it is not as low as our ELA and math.
Yeah, so that right there, to me, it makes sense to keep that same instructional time to try to work on those areas. So to go to trading within 5 teachers, that's gonna cut down a little bit of that time, which makes us go backwards.
Well, what if you don't incorporated into math, incorporate math into science, ELA into science, and such.
Yeah, you can certainly incorporate that stuff.
I was part of a middle school rotation at one point at one of our buildings. And what worked with it was grouping the students so that you had a low math, middle math, and a high math when they rotated. And so the next year, it actually was a benefit to some of those kids who were hired because they actually did some high school math in sixth grade. That's an option. That's something to think about too, that you can improve for the higher kids as well.
We could do that with this middle school model, correct? Because of we're only trained to 5 teachers.
Well, yeah, but they could actually do a class in the high school if they needed to.
Some already do on occasion.
So
My
it's been,
question is, wouldn't it be better for the kids in the 6th grade if they had the same teacher, like for math for 5th, same teacher for math for 6th? Then that teacher would know their weaknesses and be able to focus in on that.
I think that there's positives and negatives for that, especially if you have a teacher.
The only issue I would see with keeping the same teacher, it'd be beneficial because they understand their strengths and weaknesses. But when you get out to, high school, the real world, that's not always how it works. You gotta learn to adapt to your surroundings, and the changes, and to roll with it. And, I think that's part of the reason, from my understanding, to go to this middle school model is so they can get used to change and get used to adapting to their surroundings. Because that's what high school is. That's what life is. It's all about change.
But the middle school model would be nice, but logistically, I don't think the size of our staff and our building and what we have to move around already, that's where the problem comes. Now we're gonna take away some time and try to make sure we can fit everything else in the schedule. Because if we have to end up taking to gain math and ELA through this middle school model, if we have to take away some of the specials, now those kids are gonna lose out on that. Or the introductions, or.
Yeah, we wouldn't lose special time.
Okay.
They would still have their specials. We would lose time for bound win probably.
Could that schedule be tweaked at all?
There's only so many minutes in a day.
Is there anything else that, I wasn't in the meeting, but is there anything else that you guys want to say to the board that you didn't say during the meeting, or anything else that's come up since then that we should hear now?
I think that everybody wants to make the PSSA schools better. That's the ultimate goal in that part. But I think that we are missing a piece of the kids based on focusing on 5 days of testing and rigorous testing. The kids are more than that test. The kids are their day-to-day homework, and they're their weekly quizzes, and they're their unit tests, and the projects, and the time with us, that conversation piece. The kids are iReady. We've been focused on iReady for 2 years that we've been into to look at where can we find the holes and create growth from the COVID shutdown time. And that 6-month span of learning, we delivered the iReady to our kids last week in reading and math. You can't imagine the growth that we got in 5th grade. But we have to decide that we can't put all our eggs into the PSSA bag as a district. I get that that's what the state focuses on, and I know that that's what the media focuses on when they make these publications in the papers. That's a number to me when I see that. I watch the kids take the test. We all watch them take the test. Until you watch them take that test, it's undescribable what it's like to watch great students melt down. The scores that you count on, top-notch kids in your room. It's indescribable in years past, and I'm saying this in years past, to watch good students take 10 minutes, close the book. During the task. I mean, I just wish that we could think of them as a complete package and not a bucket piece. And that's really what we're doing, like that game, we got that game this year on that particular piece. I don't want to negate what we did with those kids based on that, we got the hour for the math and the hour for reading this year. Like, I want to think that the work that we put into those 2 one-hour tasks is giving us something that gave us that result.
I also want to remind the board that we did try this model before, and you as a board decided it was not working, and we moved us to self-contained. So we have gone from changing with amongst ourselves, changing as a middle school, then we went to self-contained, and now we're changing within our grade levels again. And we have gone through that change. Unfortunately, we have not stuck to one of those models long enough to see which one works, because we are constantly changing. And this is the first year that we in 5th grade have been able to get an hour of core ELA and math, which is, that's what, if PSSA is what you are focusing on, then that's the 2 subjects that you need to have the most time in. And yes, I do reading, nonfiction skills in both science and social studies. That's what it is. Right now, we do not have both science and social studies every day. We don't. I do teach nonfiction through those because I'm teaching those right now. If you do that, then it's going to take away from the other subjects. I'm also not sure how band and chorus is going to fit into that. There would be a lot of small things that go into that model that would have to be worked out.
And I've taught 17 years here, and my first year, I was in 6th grade. And at the end of 6th grade, we had a transition, tried to attempt a transition with the high school. I heard the same thing that I'm hearing now, that the kids are not ready. 17 years ago. It's the nature of the beast. It's the 7th grade kids, like a freshman in college. It's who they are developmentally. They need to learn how to adapt. Whether we have changed amongst ourselves and 5 teachers, whether we've changed just amongst 6th grade, or whether we were self-contained. I hear the same thing every year, that they're not ready. And now we've had this pandemic, we have mental health issues beyond belief, and I don't think that shuffling, 5th graders start out as 4th graders, and to ask them to shuffle that much is really going to put a lot of strain on them. You just can't, they still need that relationship with a teacher, a home base of some sort, and I think that's better done within your grade level. And, that's where we're really making some impact, is making that, having that relationship. When you start shuffling that down a lot, I know we had some behavior issues, and then you have all the teachers meeting with the parents, and then you have 5 teachers meeting with 1 parent or 1 kid. That's very overwhelming for a 5th grader or a 6th grader. And, for all of those people to have that chunk of that kid. And I just feel that with the mental health issues that we have right now, they need more of a touchstone than, being scattered. They're just not, they're not ready yet. And I've never seen improvement. We've never heard that it improved them to do that in the past. So we have to stick with something to see some improvement.
That's all I ask, is whatever you decide, we stick to it long enough. Determine if it works. We've had a lot of changes.
I have a question. And I'm just curious, this is my own curiosity thing. I don't know if anybody was still here, and my kids were young, it was a long time ago. And the Dr. Sang, and Mr. Etzel, and Miss Pastor Sang, and there were a couple other teachers involved. How was that?
But that was a trait amongst the grade level, because at that point in time, our enrollment here was high, that we had enough for 4 classes of almost every grade, and we made it work with the
But that kind of, that was kind of the fifth and sixth grade community thing too.
And fifth grade did the same thing, they traded amongst themselves, and then sixth grade did the same thing. And then as things waned off, the change at that point from that piece became the change because of the enrollment, not because.
Okay, that just seemed to me to be such a dynamic time in the elementary school, and my kids are in their thirties, and they still, the ones that were able to experience that, still talk about it, and to this day, and so that's why I was curious, how does that differ from what we've tried to do, or have we tried doing that again, it doesn't fit us, or my.
That's what we're doing now, we're training amongst ourselves in a smaller group.
Okay, and weren't there teachers that taught, like did Dr. say, just do pretty much science? Okay,
And then I had the math, which I had
Okay.
the social studies,
Okay.
and we did the English, and then we leveled those for reading, and we all taught reading to a different group.
and so this is the kind of thing you're doing now?
Well, yes, but instead of 4 teachers, fifth grade has gone to 2.
Okay,
So I'm doing the reading, social studies, and science, and Thornton's doing the math and English piece of it.
okay.
For lack of having you know what I'm saying, like the seventh grade level.
There's only 2 teachers, you can grade so much.
I was just curious, because that, like I said, that just seemed to be so dynamic, and then it seemed to have changed, then it didn't, when Dr. Say retired, did it change or something?
Our popularity went down.
Okay.
So we had
I
four
do have a
classes,
question, survey room.
and now we're talking about.
Hang on, Brady.
With fifth and sixth.
Right.
All
We
switching
did,
together.
we did 4 classes plus reading, we had 5 subjects, but it was all within the grade level. Okay. At that point, that Jeannie was talking about. Then we did shift 7 years ago, to the 5 trades between 5th and 6th grade, because there were 3 5ths and 2 6ths. And we did trade for 45 minutes at that point, but at that point, we had, 1 intervention time, not 2 in our schedule, like we have ELA and math now. We just have 1 intervention period to work with, and special classes. But
And you didn't like them switching fifth and sixth, and we did, you did? Like you,
We were fine with it, but the school district determined that it was not working.
Well, that came, I was on the board then, that came from our director of education, who said that we should not continue that. Yeah, Dr. Douglas. And because we questioned, why are we switching, and her point was that, yeah, that was.
Most of us were not here.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you were on except me at that time, so.
I appreciate your perspective. I don't do your job every day. I appreciate what you do, so I always want to hear what you have to say.
Brady had a point he wanted to make. Go ahead, Brady.
So I don't know if you need to ask this question or not, but I have a question for Ann, Kieran, and Nita. So far, the different models you guys have used, trading between classes, to self-isolating, to like trading everything, what's worked best so far in your opinion?
What has worked best in your opinion?
Well, self-contained did not work for me, I will tell you that.
It's a lot of work to be self-contained.
It was a lot. That was a lot. It was way too much to have what concepts we have to cover.
And now that you mentioned that, I hate to interrupt you, but that was one of the reasons Dr. Douglas said we need to get away from it, because the time you lost switching classes. Yes, go ahead.
But she also proposed the studies that she found that said kids did better testing when they had a full-day relationship with one teacher versus.
Right, but you can make data look any way you want.
right,
Right,
so self-contained is when they never left their classroom.
Right. right. And we said the other night at the meeting, our biggest year of growth, to be honest with you, was the year that we traded 5. There were 5 of us at that point. David Gilsham was still part of us. But we had leveled both grade levels and, like homogeneously leveled them by abilities. That was the year that we showed the largest growth. And we did that, I believe, 1 year. And then we had that removed from us. Had that removed from us, and we still traded 5 times, 2 years, right? And then we traded 5 times, but by homeowners. And each homeowner was a designated variety of levels of abilities.
Could you hear that, Brady?
I heard part of that.
Okay. Did that answer?
So just to recap what Anita was saying, in the largest year they had growth when they traded between 5 teachers in one grade level, is that correct?
By leveling and trading between 5th and 6th. Right?
Okay.
Yes, we level for 5th graders and then we level the 6th graders and
So you, in other words, made classes high, middle, low, that kind of thing, which,
it was red, green, and yellow.
yeah, well, because you can't say,
The
yeah.
hard problem with that though is that you're assuming that that student's having trouble with math and reading.
Well,
Like they're kind of.
so you didn't separate between math and, because you could.
Right.
Right.
And I would say I had the class that needed the most support at the end of the day in ELA, and that was like, they were done by that.
Yeah.
And so that was hard because you're always gonna have that class who's needing the most support, maybe in their worst class, at the worst time of the day. So I didn't feel that they were quite as much.
But we can't, back to what you asked, Brady, we can't really make a claim. I mean, I guess we can't make an early claim about how this year was if we're just sitting, waiting for the PSSA scores to come back. You know, and so if that's our focus, then that would be summertime to see if things work with that. I mean,
It's even summertime, but sometimes they come in September.
we
Yeah.
have other tools to.
Sometimes they don't come to fall, you know. So is there any way we could look at, and I'm just back on science, is there any way we could still keep what you want, but use Sean in 5th and 6th grade for science?
I do have a question about that though, because I understand he has the seniority in science, but he only has the add-on certification for science, correct?
I don't know what his certification is. I think he's,
I'm just asking, because I finished my master's degree in science, environmental education last summer, and this is my 7th year teaching 6th grade and 5th grade math and science. So I guess I can see where he can help fill in gaps that way, but if we're looking at who's more qualified, does that come into play anywhere?
I don't know that that comes into play anywhere. I mean, I think you're both qualified.
Of course.
So I don't
Like,
think,
I'm
I
not-
don't think there's an issue with
I'm not
who's
trying
more,
to say that, but
yeah.
I was just curious.
I don't think that's an issue, no. I mean, you're both qualified to teach science, so.
I feel like I'm just jumping in here, I feel like the board concern is basically that we would like to see science taught all students correctly instead of just half the year. And is there any way to do that?
Did you hear what he said?
I did not hear it.
Jeff said he thinks that one of our concerns as a board is that we would like to see science taught a whole year rather than half a year.
If you do that, we have to get rid of our wait times. We would have to get rid of that type of support time and that support time. To bring, because if we do science all year, then you have social studies all year.
Right.
So that's where the time difference is.
That's where you're losing your time.
That's
And
where,
that's the difference from several years ago when you were on that model. Now we have 2 of those versus 1.
And all of the schools are having that trouble with practice assurance. So
Well, I heard from 4 Northwest schools, but they're all the same. They do basically half a year of science, half a year of social studies in order to fit in the 90 minutes of ELA and the hour of math.
And the
January was similar to what they're doing this year.
It's pretty similar, except that,
They-
no, it's not self-contained,
Trading
they trade within
Within
grade,
grade level.
yeah. But the difference is Ann and Anita are just 2 this year.
Versus
They added the 3rd position for next year.
And we can maintain it, period, theirs won't change because we're sending 2 classes across to replace the 2 that they have this year. And we can manage that within 5th grade, keeping the 1-hour blocks. But we can reduce down to 1 meantime each day instead of 2 meantime. We can't accommodate both of those 30-minute pieces and do the 1 hour.
If we did science and social studies every day. Or just-
That would be, that's an option to do both in that 1-hour block. That's the from Sean.
You could have a half hour of science and a half hour of social studies. I tried to do that in the past. It's a little bit difficult to get much into a half an hour, but it's possible.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, so I guess we're voting. Yes, if you want to, I would be yes, if you want to do the middle school model, or you're gonna vote it down if you do not. Does that make sense?
What, are we, the schedule that we have switching among grade levels, are we calling that the middle school?
No.
Okay, middle school will be trading.
We don't really have a schedule, seen a schedule for what a middle school model would look like.
Maybe we
Other
should
than
see a
data.
schedule.
That's hard to
compare.
I have a template for one. I have a template for one. We can't, the 5 of us could not prep at one time, like we can't have a common prep because we don't have that many specials in our schedule to offer 5 people at one time. We can mirror. So one grade would prep, and one grade would win time, and then they would switch on that next time spot.
As long as you can fit it into the schedule, I mean, like, because all other grade levels would then depend on that.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't remember where 5 and 6
I'm just
specials
saying,
were.
like, that, our schedule would have to be later in this, and I'm not sure what that would do as far as.
I think we made your win times common for 5, 6.
You said the win time.
So if we go to
I think they're common in next year's schedule. Because then they were gonna shoot all the interventionists your way at one time.
If that's the schedule model, then it gives.
In English.
We can't all prep together, and then that throws us off on trade. If we're
Well,
all,
all 5 of you couldn't prep together.
no, but I'm saying that if we're all in timing at the same time, we can't prep at the same time to keep those 2 time elements back to back in order to accommodate the 5 trades.
Right, I mean, we can still, the schedule's not finalized, we can look at it, but that was how we had best accommodated getting them as much intervention help as we could. Because this year you didn't get much, one of the grades didn't get much from.
We didn't get it.
Yeah, so we were trying to fix that problem in next year's schedule.
Okay, so do you mean you asked a question? Well, if we vote this down, what it would mean would be 5th grade would trade amongst themselves, 6th grade would trade amongst themselves, and Sean would teach science, social studies, and English.
And we would all teach our own.
Everybody teaches their own English, and he would switch with you guys for science and social studies. And Anita would do the math, and Ann would do the ELA, reading. And English would.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I have a question. Sean was certified to teach science, though? I didn't think he was certified for anything else, or am I incorrect or something like that?
He's elementary certified, he can teach anything at the elementary.
Okay.
And so the enrollment in 5th grade supports having the 3 teachers.
It's 2 people different from what's on here right now. 47, am I right, coming into 5th, and 45 going into 6th. 43, I was going by what's in our packet. Yeah, it is 47 coming from 4th and 45 coming from 5th. But that's gonna change, because you may have kids come in or kids leave.
We may have some cyber students return.
Right, we don't know how that cyber would.
And I just want to bring up too, I mean, allowing them to be able to set that schedule, I feel like they're in the best position. I mean, you as teachers, or you guys are professionals, what you do every day. If you think those kids need that extra hour, or have an hour of math and an hour ELA with, I certainly stand behind that, because you guys are with the students every day, you know what they need more than we need.
Okay, any other
So
discussion?
can I just clarify the vote then? We're voting on whether we're doing middle school model or we're going to keep it the same, is that correct?
We're voting on middle school model. If you vote yes for that, you will change. If you vote no, then it will be up to, I mean, we're not changing anything. That will be up to you guys to determine how they want to, what they end up doing. Teachers will decide how they're going to schedule and group.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted clarity, that's all.
Sure. Is that clear to everybody? Okay, so I've lost my train. We've had a motion and a second, right?
Yes.
Okay, all those who are in favor of a middle school model in grade 5 and grade 6. I'm gonna say aye. I just personally am, but that's just my opinion. Okay, all those opposed?
Aye.
All those who abstain?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Motion does not carry. Motion does not carry, so that motion has been voted down. So we'll let you guys determine how you want to group and, you know, what schedule you're gonna.
Can I make a comment? Just personally, I think I would like to see a tri-curricular with 3 teachers in there with Sean Miller, because that's gonna bring a different dynamic to the thing, to the whole thing. And yes, we're still dealing with all COVID fallout for these kids. But I would like to revisit this next year, after we have a whole year of looking at it and seeing how things fit. And then, so, somebody can make a note, to remember to revisit that.
At the same time too, because I feel like we wanted an actual schedule, that we were gonna be able to see times and not just like a rough schedule. So I guess that was part of my reserve, is that I felt that we weren't prepared and we were kind of throwing the teachers to the wolves under this model, but we should be somewhat more prepared next year to revisit that.
Well, and again, we need to stick with
Right,
something longer
yeah.
than a year. If they think this year's working, that's let's try to
Yeah, and
and see what that looks
If they're
like.
happy with it next year too, I'm, happy with staying with it as well. But I think that was a lot of, few of our reserves. But I didn't feel that we were prepared well.
Okay, so then we have the district enrollment numbers as of May 9th, 2022 as attached. So finally, student board representative report.
Okay, so I'm going to start touching on a little bit of athletics. This Friday, our track team goes to districts in Brookville. We wish them the best of luck in their events. Touching again on baseball, just moving on to baseball. Their playoffs are starting very soon. We hope that they have a good playoff run, I guess. I guess that's what that means. Moving on from that, we just had our Nhs elections last week, I believe. We had 9 students get elected into the Nhs. From there, we have a blood drive going on at school tomorrow for students and faculty, I believe. And then finally, there's a lot of cheers and everything going on at school right now. I mean, no disrespect to any of those wonderful teachers over there or these 2 great principals right here, but it's nice to get them out of our hair.
Sounds like you're ready for the end of the year, Kate.
Oh, yeah. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Do we have a school police report tonight?
Dave's not here, he left the report with Tammy.
Do you read that?
We can just pass it around.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to policy. Diane.
Okay. A, consideration to approve the second reading of policy number 251, homeless students as attached. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
B, consideration to approve the second reading of policy number 255, educational stability for children in foster care as attached. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
We're gonna do
Motion
this.
carries. Diane, will you also do the facilities?
Yes, do we have a maintenance report, Mark?
Yeah. First of all, what David said about the grant fund custodians we've had one today, they've done a great job the last couple of years. Those two girls are Sally Craddy and Christy Parks. They have the seniority in their positions, so their jobs are being eliminated, so they will bump out the two girls. They're doing that job now, which are done a great job also. Schaefer is at the elementary school, and Hannah Farrington is the high school. Those girls will be losing their jobs at the end of the school year. They're both college girls, one's going to be on a college. So Mr. Ditt and I thought that we should offer them summer work if they wanted to work in summer with the kids. And both of them declined because of their college education. Hannah's looking at another job she's going to start school, be a nurse, so she's going to get a nursing job this summer at the hospital. And Caitlin is going to speak for college. So we thank you for having those girls and doing a wonderful job. The other kids we hired this year, we thank you for the increase in pay. We had 15 kids apply for summer work this year, and we appreciate it. Last year, we had trouble filling 6 positions. We didn't have 6 students the whole summer. So I encouraged a lot of kids to apply this year, and they did. I'm really thankful for that. We in high school is going to have Zach Fiedner, Kenna Parks, and Jenna Stefanacci. Elementary will have J.P. Blosser, Meg Otten, and Alika Farrington. There's the 6 girls we have. 6 kids we have this year. We don't have a boy in each school and 4 girls. Well, girls always outnumber the boys that apply for some work. So we appreciate all of them. Walking cooler at the high school, we've had trouble with last week. This week we had it hopefully fixed today. Outside work has been gradually getting done as much as we can. With the testing going on right now, this time of year it's hard to do a lot of electric mowers, electric weed eaters are very quiet. We use them a lot this time of year. The rain let off last week. We were able to get a lot of things done. Football field aerated. We had the reading things to the athletic fields. We also the grass seed will be overseeing the field after the athletic fields this week. With everything going on. And then also with your kids and parents, maybe we put something, back that rack back there in the cafeteria. Every year we have trouble with lost and found. If you could know anybody that's left something here, encourage the kids, the parents to take it back. A lot of the stuff is expensive. Clothing and it hangs here and no one claims it. It's terrible. Every year we have this trouble. I think the parents would come looking.
I know, it always amazes me.
You could put it on display at open house. Like,
Yeah.
make that a separate station that everybody has to visit before they leave the building.
Hey, stuff, whether it belongs to you or not. That's all, thank you.
Corey, would you do transportation?
Sure. Under A, consideration to approve the request of Tracy Irwin, Road Transportation LLC, to approve Amber Preston on receipt of all appropriate documentation and an interview with the administration as a substitute driver.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. And then Corey, we need to add this.
So discussion related to the transportation comparisons.
Yeah, so the sheet that you have in front of you is what we looked at back in, like I said, February or March, where we compared to 3 other local schools. And basically decided to go with what we've been doing. We base our like bus transportation on the formula with the pupil transportation cost index. And it is going from 6.131 to 6.560. You can see down there at the bottom. And that is one of the biggest jumps, probably top 3 to 5 biggest jumps since the 1970s, like if you go through the whole cost index. So the state is increasing that pretty significantly, and that will increase the pay significantly for the bus routes. However, that doesn't address the extracurricular runs or our van drivers. And back in February, when we were talking about it, you know, they were okay with the status quo. But given the cost of fuel and the increases, you know, one of them texted me and said today she paid $4.79 a gallon at Welter's for one of her vans. And the extracurricular, another local school district is paying more, and we share extracurricular runs with them. And, you know, I talked to my husband about it too. He said, yeah, they'll take their runs first over ours because they're getting more per mile. I believe the rate was $2.45 a mile that they're getting from that school. So they just wanted me to bring that up and see if we could look at, you know, increasing the rate per mile for extracurriculars and for the van rates.
Do they want us to look at that for next year?
For this coming school year, is what they had hoped.
Thoughts? Yeah, we need to, Andrea needs to know, you prefer us to make a decision tonight and not wait? Yeah, we need to make a decision tonight, because in June, we're voting on the budget, so she needs to know.
Well, we almost need to stay current with some of the other districts if we're losing contractors too.
I think they do need an increase for sure.
I mean, we're the lowest, correct?
Among those,
But we don't know what
Those
the other
three.
school districts are doing the next year.
this is what they were doing in February, so
Right, right.
I don't know if they've decided to increase. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have time to get that together. They just been asking me this week if it's possible.
Were you doing the last time we increased some of these were?
I don't think since I've been here, we've increased the extracurricular. I'd have to look back because I still have those. We did increase the vans 2 or 3 years ago from 153 a mile to 156 a mile.
But I think the extracurricular has stayed the same for a while.
It's been that way for a while, yeah.
So
I know
this-
that the minimum compensation has been $92.60 the whole time I've been here, and the wait time has remained the same since I've been.
And some, like, some schools didn't even pay for the wait time, but I only looked at this one time. So that was something that we did make sure we kept in there.
So the 6.560 that's going for the buses is not going for the vans, am I correct?
No, our vans don't run on that same formula. We pay
Okay.
them strictly by the mile.
So my question would be, and I'm fine with increasing, but if we increase, how are we gonna make it comparable to what the buses are getting? Because they're gonna be, you know, like if we end up paying the van drivers more, I think it should be the same. I mean, I think we should at
We
least,
can't figure that out because buses are based off of.
Diesel, yeah, the difference is, you know, the upkeep of
No,
a
that's
bus.
true,
The
yeah.
upkeep of a bus, and they run on diesel versus
That's
the
true.
upkeep of a
And the
van.
formula is based on student population.
Yeah, the bus formula factors in number of students that they're hauling, and that's not factored into vans. Whether they have a full load or one kid, it's the same per mile.
so it'd be pretty hard then to try and make sure that we're meeting and voting,
Yeah, it's a
being
lot.
fair to both
It's different,
sides.
yeah, it's a very different type of
Formula, okay.
And when did we do, how long has the Career Center been at that price?
Well, the Career Center, that one has been a little bit different because there used to just be one, and now there's 2, but we are going back to 1 next year. And that was by bid, so that was just the lowest bid.
Yeah, that, we could, yeah, they always bid that.
Do you do that on an annual basis, bid out every year, or is it for a certain number of years?
We haven't bid for a while, I don't think, have we?
Well,
It's been a couple of years,
I
but,
think it was 2 years ago that they bid at 125.
yeah,
but we did not bid last year, but then we ran 2 buses because of COVID. And they both agreed to run at that 125 rate.
Okay? We need to come to a decision here. Do we want to increase? Do we need, I'm assuming, Andrea, we need to do this tonight.
Well, we almost have to do it differently though, because we have different things we're talking about, but it's a band rate.
Are they only asking us to look at the extracurricular?
Right.
Extracurricular and bands.
Okay.
We
So
do
that would
receive-
be,
We do receive the reimbursement on bands, but not on extracurricular.
so line 2, 3, and 4 go together for the bands, or no, that's
No, the bands are
extracurricular.
just line
And
5.
Okay,
2, 3, and 4 are all extracurricular related.
okay.
Just keep in mind with the transportation part of the budget, we just generally pull numbers from the year prior, so it's probably not going to have a major impact. If we wanted to take some time to get additional information about on June, I feel that would be appropriate as well.
So we could
Because we
wait.
don't go through and calculate numbers in advance and add them together and all of us, we just pull out from what we spent the year prior.
Okay,
And along those lines too, the band fleet fluctuates depending on the needs of.
right, it may change some.
Yeah, so especially with some of the movements with the IU classrooms, that might change some of our band needs,
Okay.
one way or the other.
So you want to wait then and get more information that we can talk about in June if it's not going to affect what Andrew needs to do? Is that okay with
I
everybody?
won't know how many bands we need in August by June, but.
Right, so I'm more concerned about the extracurricular,
Yeah.
because that, we have had big discussions about that over the years. And all the papers going around and all the different charts. So that one, yeah, I would like to have more information on that.
When did you say the bands were increased? 2 years ago.
I think, I can look back, I think it was 2 years ago, we went from 153 to 156.
Something like the band drivers came to the meeting. The group of band drivers came to the meeting.
Yeah, that, wasn't that?
Maybe that was just COVID related.
Well, that was more, this was pre-COVID that we increased their,
It's
So
all more.
yeah.
It is.
We're
So maybe it was
actually
3
not
years,
too
because
badly
we're
out
2
of
years
line with our band from what these 3 samples, right? We're really low on our extracurricular.
Yeah, and the career center, we'll have to put that out for bid for next year now. Is that what?
I can't imagine they're gonna accept it next year.
We can put it out for bid.
I think it should be put out for bid, only to be fair to the contractors.
Yeah.
Because we are going back to 1 bus as well.
Right. So do we want to go ahead and decide that we will put the career center out for bid? And then wait on the bands and the extracurricular until June
Yeah.
with more information? Does that sound okay?
Yeah, especially the extracurricular, we need more information on that. What the other schools are doing, the wait time was a big conversation point, I remember that. And, because I said, they'll end up sitting there 4-5 hours, depending on who they are, and not get reimbursed for anything. And I know that was a big concern of the bus drivers.
Is that cost segregated, for us to see like what the total was from this year? For extracurriculars paid out?
I think at the beginning, like you said.
Are we able to see just what we paid out for extracurriculars this year? Is that like?
Yeah, we could probably get that
separate things?
from Jody.
Yeah.
Jody would be able to pull that up as a line item.
Okay. So,
We need to make a motion for.
yeah, what, I'm trying to remember now what motion you made. Or we just said we were having a discussion.
Just, yeah, just.
Okay, so we would need to make a motion if we want to do the career center bid.
Now, Lori, does that include the busing for the sports? Extracurricular, it falls under extracurricular?
Yeah, that's, it's mostly sports, yeah.
All right, so consideration to approve putting the career center transportation out for bid to bus contractors.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. And we'll just clarify then that we are planning to have another discussion in June for extracurricular rates and the band rates with more information. Is that okay with everybody? Yeah. Thank you, Corey.
Yes.
Eric, would you like to do the miscellaneous?
Sure. A career center report. I wasn't at the last meeting, they do have their directors.
I was there and I don't remember.
Some of her notes from her director's report. The co-op cooperative education instructor up there retired, so she's in the middle of doing interviews right now. She had 4 candidates that were interviewed on May 5th, as well as the computer networking instructor. So she put in this letter of resignation last month before, in March. So she has 3 applications received, and she's going to start interviews over the next month. That's all I have on her report this year. I assume we saw the holdout on the school with the subsidy money.
I didn't know what you said.
That subsidy money, that was the percentage of that.
Oh, yes,
Still on.
we still have one school that has not voted, and they keep tabling the motion for the the money that was always returned to the school. It's not subsidy money, I forget what it's called now. So at this point, they're planning just not to return money starting next year to the schools, because it wasn't voted on, and,
Yeah, the articles of agreement.
Yeah, the
Say
articles
that
of
if it's
agreement
not
state-
agreed upon, then it stays.
yeah, so she's taking it true to the wording of the articles of agreement. And she even went and presented to that school, I believe, and they still won't vote on it, so. But I do believe the rest of your budget passed with the other schools. Is that right?
Yeah.
Just ignore it.
All right, thank you. D, intermediate unit report.
Last month, I was not at the meeting, I was on beach in Mexico. However, based on the minutes, there was not much to report, except they did go to, I believe, they voted to renew Dr. Stelman's contract. So I think that was the biggest takeaway of the meeting, and then we'll be meeting again on Wednesday night. Next Wednesday night, not this week, next week.
Correspondence?
We just had that letter that was from the county commissioner. Okay.
Technology committee update?
We've not had a meeting.
Okay. Athletic committee update?
We have a meeting to discuss more cooperative agreements with the Union School District. And I think that, the general consensus from our discussion is that we more or less define when and why we should approach cooperative agreements. And keep it mostly as much as possible to saving the program, saving it on this end or saving it on the end for Union School District. But not necessarily creating agreements just to have a dominating team that really, isn't just for the kids.
We have a consideration to approve creating a football field renovation committee consisting of the following members: Dave Sherman, Bo George, Paul Murray, Chris McDaniel, Courtney Chalmers, Mark Elfberg, Brady Pike, Courtney Sherman, Danny Drayer, David Kivett. Update from the committee will be presented at each voting meeting next year.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Is that an opposed or a for, Brady?
Sure, sorry.
Okay. I was gonna say, your name's on the list, so. It's a little late now to back up. Okay. Any abstentions? All right, motion carries.
And finance committee update.
We haven't had a meeting.
Okay, so old business, I do have a piece of new business we have to address. We received today the notification from Tony McGarvey that he is resigning from his boys basketball coaching positions, varsity and elementary, effective immediately. So we need to have a motion to accept the resignation and also to advertise. Someone would do that.
Excuse me.
Do we know why?
A
He
change in
just,
job.
yeah, I think he,
I just wondered if
time.
it's got anything to do with it, if I go off.
No.
I can pass this around if you'd like to.
No, I'm just going on.
Okay. All right, so someone want to make a motion to accept, and then we need a motion to that.
Motion to accept the letter of resignation.
Moved and seconded, discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, motion carries.
And then motion to advertise for the basketball position.
Yes, it's for varsity and elementary basketball.
So,
Boys varsity and boys elementary. Okay, motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. And in a minute, I need a motion to adjourn, or in a few seconds, but we're going to have a very, very short, brief, I know. Just to fill you in on two things that happened tonight at our meeting, before the board meeting. Just take like 2 minutes. I want to just fill you in so you know what's going on. So we're making a motion to adjourn to an executive session for personnel reasons. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Moved and second. I'm not asking for discussion. We're doing it. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody, for coming this evening.